Happy holidays to you all, and welcome to another edition of Q&A Social Security Disability Today. I am your host, Attorney Anthony Reeves, so let's go ahead and get to your questions. Alright, let's go ahead and get to our first question. First question has to deal with the Ticket to Work program, and it reads in parts like this. If I were to start the Ticket to Work program, but if I was in the middle of the Ticket to Work program, I was in the middle of a continuing disability review and they determined I was no longer disabled, would I be fired from my job? That's a very good question. Now, here's what you got to kind of understand. The reason the Ticket to Work program was created was to give people with the disability the ability to re-enter into the workforce or find employers who would be willing to work with them in terms of their disability so they could reintegrate back into the workforce. This is the thing that you kind of have to understand. Being on disability gets you the ability to participate in this particular program. If you are no longer disabled, well, you're already working. So they're not going to say, oh, you're not disabled, we're going to let you go. Or at least they probably shouldn't do that. Remember, the very thrust of the program is to get you back into the workforce. So let's say you were to start doing the Ticket to Work program and you didn't have a disability review. Guess what? If you keep working successfully over a period of time, then now you're working, you don't need disability. So don't focus on the fact that if you have a disability review and you're in the Ticket to Work program, will you be kicked out of the program if you're found to no longer be disabled? You're kind of looking at it from a different standpoint. The program is designed to get you back out into the workforce, and the two are totally separate from each other. So don't worry about being kinked or kicked out or fired because of the fact that you're no longer found disabled. Because the idea is the program was created because they want you to go back to work. Hopefully the best case scenario is that if they've got you in a program that's working for you, you've now found a job and you can ride off into the sunset. Very good question here for our question was, are there any rules that governs the use of P.O. boxes in terms of receiving governmental material? I will tell you, to my knowledge, I have never seen any rule. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but under most situations, I've never seen a rule that says that you have to have a P.O., that you can't have a P.O. box. You must have a physical address in order for you to be able to receive government information. You'd be surprised the number of people that I've run across who have been homeless and use like the general inbox that they have at the P.O. box at the post office. So, to the best of my knowledge, there is no requirement that prohibits you from receiving government material unless you have a physical location. So P.O. box should be fine. Alright, this last question is actually a very good one because it talks about Clark v. Astrue. In this particular instance, and give me the opportunity to read this, the person's Social Security checks were stopped after 4 months when it was determined that the individual had a warrant for their arrest for basically a probation violation, and the probation violation was old. The person went and realized or did some research and determined that there was no actual warrant out there and they had already completed their requirements for the probation. And they wanted to know, how did this square with the whole thing with Clark v. Astrue? They were a little upset by that. Well, let's kind of talk for a second for those of you who may have heard me talk about this, because I've talked about this in previous shows, but let me talk about it again. In the state of New York, there was a successful case brought in federal court because someone had their Social Security disability benefits suspended because there was a warrant for their arrest for an alleged probation violation. Now, for those of you who wonder, what does alleged mean? Alleged means is we think they may have done it. We haven't proven it definitively, but we think they may have violated their probation. And what the court basically said in that case was, no, you cannot suspend someone's Social Security benefits for an alleged violation because you think they may have violated. If you have determined they've actually violated, that's something different. But just because you think they may have, that's not enough to suspend. Now, in the scenario that's provided here, it's a little different because what the person's question is that that they literally said it was a warrant for a probation violation. So if your question is, how can they do this in light of Clark v. Astrue? If Social Security's alert determined that you had actually violated your probation, there's no allegation here, they haven't alleged anything, they've determined that you've actually done it, then this one doesn't fall in the scenario under Clark v. Astrue. Now, your scenario is a little bit more detailed, because what the question basically told me is that the person did research and determined that there was no probation violation and that you satisfied everything. I've seen this happen before, where for some odd reason an alert pops up in Social Security's system that says the person has done something or they violated, there is a warrant for their arrest. Sometimes it's just as easy as contacting the court, getting the material you need, providing Social Security, they lift the suspension. It's just that simple. So I tell people all the time, don't get stressed out and start wanting to go down there and raise hell with Social Security because something in their system you believe is incorrect. Get the information they need that shows them that it's incorrect, get your benefits going, and keep on rolling, as opposed to wanting to kick the trees and raise holy hell because they've screwed it up. Just merely provide them the documentation to show them that the information they have is in error, and they will correct the problem, and you can just keep on keeping on. Would you and your friends like to have a live conversation with Attorney Anthony Reeves about questions you have about Social Security disability or supplemental security income? Feel free to contact Q&A Social Security Today to schedule a disability questions and answers webinar with Attorney Anthony Reeves. Please send an email to contact@reevesfirm.com for more information on how you and your friends can schedule a live conversation with Attorney Anthony Reeves to have your questions. Again, I want to thank you for joining me for another edition of Q&A Social Security Disability Today. As always, if you have any additional questions, you can always keep them coming. And I always encourage you, I am willing to do a live show on my radio show, giving you the opportunity to call in and ask questions. If you have any interest in that at all, please, by all means, shoot me a message and I'll contact my producer and we'll make that happen. Ha, hooked on phonics. Have a good holiday, everybody. This is Attorney Anthony Reeves, and this has been, again, your Q&A Social Security Disability Today.